Good evening, my friends. There is a question that lives inside almost everyone who discovers this teaching. You may recognize it immediately because it is almost certainly one you have asked yourself, perhaps in the privacy of your own mind, perhaps in those quiet, honest hours when no one else is present to hear. How do I make this happen faster? It is a completely human question. It is, in fact, the question of someone who has understood something real. You have caught a glimpse, even if only a glimpse, of what is actually possible. You have seen, even briefly, that the life you desire is not a fantasy belonging to other people, but a genuine reality waiting to be inhabited. And in the light of that understanding, the gap between where you stand and where you know could be begins to feel not merely uncomfortable, but almost unbearable. I understand this. And tonight I want to speak to it directly, because the answer is not what you are expecting. And the moment it truly lands not in your mind, but in your body, in the place below argument where real knowing lives, something in you is going to release. Something that has been gripping and pressing and straining is going to let go. And that release, that precise softening, will be the very thing that sets everything in motion. So here it is. The fastest way to manifest is to stop trying to manifest faster. I know how that sounds. I know the part of you that is practical and impatient is already preparing its objection. But stay with me, because this is not a paradox designed to sound clever. This is the most useful, most operational thing I can tell you about the speed of creation. The moment your dominant focus becomes how do I speed this up, you have revealed something about your inner state that is more important than any technique you might discover. You have revealed that you are still living in the gap, still occupying the consciousness of someone who is waiting for something to arrive. And waiting, however earnestly practiced, however sincerely felt, is simply absence with a clock attached. The law does not distinguish between want and wait. Both broadcast the same signal. I do not yet have this. And what you broadcast, the outer world reflects back to you with the faithful precision of a mirror. More not yet, more almost, more of the maddening, tantalizing proximity of the thing you desire without the thing itself. This is why the speed conversation must begin counterintuitively, even frustratingly, not with acceleration, but with understanding. Specifically, with understanding what actually moves things. Because once you understand that, the acceleration takes care of itself. And when it comes at a pace that will genuinely astonish you. Not technique, not frequency of practice, not the particular method of visualization you have chosen, or how long you have been applying the law, or how many mornings you have spent in disciplined mental work. State, your state of consciousness, is the single variable that determines the speed, the quality, and the specific form of everything that manifests in your life. The inner world you are consistently inhabiting, the felt reality you have accepted as true about yourself and your circumstances, not in your stated beliefs, not in your affirmations, but in the deep, habitual, largely unexamined assumption that runs beneath everything else, like a current beneath a river's surface. And here is what makes this the most liberating truth in the entire teaching. You can change your state right now. Not after 6 months of inner work, not once you have resolved your deepest wounds or achieved some sufficient level of readiness. In this moment, in the very next breath, you can choose to inhabit a different state. That is the only shortcut that has ever existed, and it has been available to you and to everyone, regardless of circumstance or history, from the beginning. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not a gap of time. It is a gap of state, and states can be crossed in an instant. So let us look precisely at what that means in practice. The first thing that genuinely accelerates manifestation is so simple that people consistently pass over it in search of something more sophisticated. Clarity, not the intensity of your desire, not the willpower behind your practice, not even the frequency of your visualization. Clarity, the ruthless, specific, detailed precision of what you are actually assuming. The law is exact. It does not respond to approximations. It cannot build from a description of something nice, it needs the full architectural drawing. And when your desired reality is vague at the edges, when you know roughly what you want but have never sat with it long enough to know precisely what it feels, smells, sounds, and moves, like your imagination has nothing solid to inhabit. It drifts, it returns different shapes each time. It produces out in the world the same quality of vagueness it was given, a life that is broadly fine, approximately what you hoped for, but never quite the specific, vivid, deeply satisfying thing you were reaching toward. So before another technique, before another evening of practice, get specific. Not in the category, in the scene. Not financial freedom as an abstract concept, but the particular texture of a Tuesday morning in that life. The quality of ease with which you move through it. The way you speak when money is simply not a problem. The feeling in your body when you open your banking application and feel nothing, not relief, not excitement, just the ordinary, unremarkable calm of someone for whom that number has long since ceased to be a source of anxiety. Not a loving relationship as a wish, but the specific feeling of being genuinely known by another person. What it means to sit across a table from someone who is glad you are there. The particular quality of ease in a home where you are not performing yourself. Not better health, but the felt experience of a body that carries you through your life without complaint. The particular way you move when movement is effortless. The quality of waking up rested in a body you are not fighting. The more specific you can make the scene, the more real it becomes in imagination. And the more real it is in imagination, the more readily the law makes it real in the world. Clarity is not a refinement. It is the foundation without which everything else is built on sand. The second accelerator is the one that most practitioners of this teaching spend years gradually discovering. The ones who discover it early are the ones who move fastest. It is the depth of feeling in a single moment of genuine contact with your desired reality. I want to be direct about this because the misunderstanding here is costly. One genuinely felt moment in the state of the wish fulfilled 20 seconds, 30 seconds, in which your whole being drops into the reality of your desire with such completeness that there is no part of you standing outside it. Observing, hoping, monitoring is worth more than 1,000 mechanical repetitions done from mild hopefulness or dutiful habit. One moment in which your body actually responds, in which there is a physical shift, a softening in the chest, a deepening of the breath, a release in the shoulders that tells you the feeling has landed and is not merely being thought. One moment like that is a seed planted at depth, in rich soil, with everything it needs to grow. Whereas 100 repetitions done half-heartedly, done because it is part of the routine, done while some quiet background voice maintains its careful skepticism, these are seeds dropped on dry ground. They may produce something eventually, but they will struggle. The question to ask yourself honestly about your current practice is not, how often am I doing this? It is, how real does it feel when I do? And if the honest answer is, not very real, it feels like rehearsal, like pretending, like I am trying to convince myself of something I don't fully believe, then that is the precise thing to address. Not the frequency. The depth, how do you deepen it? You slow down, you get quiet. You stop trying to force the feeling and instead invite it. You choose not the panorama of your whole desired life, but one specific sensory detail, one conversation, one moment, one texture of experience, and you give it your complete attention. You breathe into it. You let your body respond, because the body does not know it is imagination. It responds to whatever the mind presents as real. And when the body responds, when there is an actual physical shift in your experience, the seed has gone deep. Measure your practice not by the clock, but by that felt shift. And when it happens, even briefly, even once, trust that it was enough. The third accelerator is less dramatic than the others. It announces itself quietly, but its power over time is the power that carves canyons. Consistency, not intensity. Consistency. A river does not carve its way through stone through force. It carves it through the patient, daily, unchanging flow of water over the same surface, year after year. The subconscious mind operates by the same principle. It is moved not by occasional peak experiences alone, though those have their place, but by the steady, rhythmic impression of an assumption held consistently over time. Here is a simple structure, not a rigid ritual or rhythm. In the morning, before the world has had a chance to set the tone of your day, spend a few minutes in your desired state. Not lengthy, not elaborate. A quiet, deliberate return to the feeling, the brief inhabiting of the life you have claimed. Set the inner register of your day from the inside before the outside has the chance to set it for you. During the day, live fully, ordinarily, without monitoring your thoughts for signs of doubt or straining to maintain a meditative state. Trust that the morning impression has been planted and simply move through your life. But when natural reminders arise, a moment of quiet, something that calls your desire to mind, let yourself touch the feeling briefly. The way a person hums a melody they love without making a performance of it. And in the evening, in that soft, receptive interval before sleep, when consciousness is loosening and the subconscious is most permeable, return to your scene one final time. Not with effort, but with the quiet satisfaction of someone revisiting something they know and love. Let it be the last impression you carry into sleep, so that through the night, in the hours when the conscious mind rests, and the deeper creative intelligence operates freely, it is working with the state you have given it. Morning intention, daytime trust, evening release. That rhythm, held consistently, builds a momentum beneath the surface of your daily life. And one day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will look around and discover that the outer world has been moving steadily, inexorably, toward what you have been consistently holding within. Now I want to give what follows the space it deserves. Because in my experience, what I am about to describe is the single most powerful factor in the speed of manifestation. The one that, when people finally understand it not in the head, but in the bones, produces changes that appear, to those around them, almost miraculous. It is the dropping of resistance. Resistance is everything in you that pushes back against the reality of your desire. Every yes, but, every quiet monitoring of circumstances for evidence that the thing is or is not coming. Every subtle hum of doubt, desperation, or why hasn't this happened yet that runs beneath the surface of even a disciplined practice. And resistance is far more common than most people realize, not because they are not trying, but because resistance is subtle. It does not always announce itself. It lives in the spaces between the practice, in the glance at the bank account that brings the familiar sinking feeling, in the sigh when another day passes without a sign, in the very act of asking, am I doing this right? Every one of these is a hand on the brake, not a devastating one, but a friction, a drag, an interference pattern in the signal being sent. Here is what I want you to understand about resistance. It cannot be fought. Trying to combat doubt with determination is like arm wrestling yourself. Exhausting, and the outcome is guaranteed to favor neither side. The harder you push against the doubt, the more real and substantial you make it. What you meet with force, you confirm as worthy of force. Resistance is dissolved, gently through warmth, through genuine trust. It dissolves when you stop monitoring the manifestation and start genuinely living your life. It dissolves when the inner state becomes so natural, so settled, that doubt simply has nothing to grip. When the assumption is no longer an achievement you maintain through effort, but a ground you stand on without thinking about it. Think of how you know the sun will rise tomorrow. You do not hold that knowing with white-knuckled determination. You do not spend the evening running affirmations about sunrise. You simply know, in the completely unremarkable, utterly unself-conscious way, that you know things that are not in question. It does not occur to you to monitor it. That is the quality of knowing that removes resistance. That casual, settled, of course this is true certainty. The energy of someone who has ordered something they love and knows it is on its way, and who, having placed the order, gets on with the rest of their life and thinks about it hardly at all until it arrives. That is the state that manifests most rapidly. Not the fervent, urgent, please let this work intensity. Its precise opposite. The people who manifest most quickly are not the ones working hardest at it. They are the ones resisting least. They plant the seed and genuinely leave it alone, not in passive indifference, insecure, confident, I know what I know, trust. Clean your state of resistance, and you remove the friction from the path. And a frictionless path is a very fast path indeed. I want to speak directly to those who have been practicing this teaching sincerely and with genuine effort, and who feel despite everything that things are moving slowly, because this is one of the most important conversations to have honestly. When things feel slow, the instinctive response is to intensify. More visualization, more repetition, more technique, more effort applied with greater urgency. And I want to gently suggest that in most cases, this response makes things slower, not faster, because the feeling of things moving slowly is itself a state. It is the state of someone who is watching, waiting, and measuring. And that state, however understandable, however human, is the state of someone who does not yet have what they want. When you respond to it by intensifying your practice, you are adding more effort to the wrong inner position. You are trying harder from within lack. And lack, worked harder, produces not abundance but more lack, arrived at with greater exhaustion. The move that actually shifts things is to soften, to step back, to ask yourself, quietly and honestly, what state am I actually in right now? Not what state am I performing? Not what state am I trying to hold? What state am I actually genuinely, privately inhabiting? And then to shift that state not through force, but through understanding, through remembering what is true. The gap between where you are and where you want to be closes not through effort, but through ease. Not through doing more, but through being more completely the person who already has what they desire. When things feel slow, do not push harder, soften. Return to the simple knowing, and trust, with the easy confidence of a farmer in winter, that what is growing in the dark is growing as it should. There is something that plays an enormous role in the speed of manifestation, and that is rarely given the attention it deserves. Your inner conversation. From waking to sleeping, you are talking to yourself, a constant, ongoing, largely unconscious stream of commentary about who you are, what your life is, and what is possible for you. This conversation feels like observation. It presents itself as honest assessment. This is just how things are for me. I always get so close but never quite. Things like this don't seem to happen for people like me. But this conversation is not observation. It is assumption, and like all assumptions, it is heard by the law as instruction. So be it. Here is the evidence. More of this. You can choose to become the conscious author of this conversation, rather than its passive audience. Not by pasting cheerful affirmations over an undercurrent of genuine doubt that produces the hollow sound of two conflicting signals, but by genuinely questioning the old stories, by examining them with the calm curiosity of someone who is no longer sure they are telling the truth. Is it actually true that things never work out for me? Or is that a conclusion I drew from a few experiences and then kept confirming by looking for evidence of it? And then slowly, deliberately, without forcing, beginning to replace the old story with a new one. A story told from the end, from the perspective of someone for whom things do work out, for whom opportunities arise naturally, for whom the desired life is simply the ordinary fabric of daily experience. Not as a mantra, but as a new and genuine inner voice. A voice you return to consistently enough that it begins to feel true, because you have chosen it, fed it, and allowed it to take root. Change the inner conversation, and you change what you are broadcasting. Change what you are broadcasting, and the outer world must change what it reflects. Every single day, most people sleep through one of the most creative windows available to them. Not because they are asleep, but because they rush past it without recognizing it for what it is. The interval between sleeping and waking. That soft, hazy, permeable moment when consciousness is returning, but the analytical mind has not yet fully engaged, when you are still warm and quiet and genuinely open, when the day has not yet asserted its agenda and your circumstances have not yet reasserted their presence. In that moment, which may last only a minute or two, but carries extraordinary creative weight, you have unguarded access to the subconscious. The door between the conscious and the creative depths of mind is still standing open. And what you introduce through that open door in those first moments of waking will color the entire day that follows. Before you open your eyes, before you reach for the device on your nightstand, before the first thought about what must be done today lie there, for a moment in the feeling of the life you have claimed. Let the assumption be the first impression of the day. Let your desired reality be the first state your consciousness inhabits as it returns to waking. That practice, done consistently, shifts the inner register from which the whole day unfolds. And a day that begins from the right inner position tends, quietly and almost automatically, to accumulate the evidence of that position. The small openings, the unexpected conversations, the doors that swing without apparent effort. Not because something mysterious is happening, because your state is attracting its own confirmation, as it always does, as it always will. Own those first moments. They are more valuable than you know. I want to close with the challenge that I believe is at the heart of everything. Not the challenge of visualizing more vividly, not the challenge of maintaining the feeling for longer, not the challenge of finding the superior technique that unlocks the door. The challenge is this: can you trust completely? Not mostly. Not when circumstances are encouraging and you feel inspired and the signs seem positive. Completely in the silence, in the waiting, in the ordinary days when nothing visible is happening and the old doubts are murmuring at the edges. Can you trust then? Because that is where everything is actually decided. Not in the peak moments when the practice feels effortless and the knowing is vivid and natural. In the unremarkable, ordinary, nothing seems to be happening days that constitute most of a life. The people who manifest most quickly, and I say this with complete conviction, are not those with the most refined technique. They are those with the deepest trust, the ones who have decided, below the level of conscious strategy, that it is done, and who carry that decision with the same quiet lightness with which they carry any other settled fact. They do not spend their days monitoring their manifestation. They do not analyze their moods for signs of alignment or misalignment. They simply know, privately, without drama, that what belongs to them is coming. And they get on with the full, engaged, grateful business of living. That is the challenge, not to manifest faster, to trust more completely. Because complete trust is the fastest path there is. A seed planted in rich soil and genuinely left alone grows faster than a seed that is dug up every few days to be examined. Do not try to manifest faster. Try to trust more deeply. Remove the boulders of doubt and urgency from the river of your desire and watch how swiftly it finds the sea. Because the river knows the way. The law knows the way. Your only task, your one, simple, endlessly sufficient task, is to stop placing obstacles in the path. Plant the seed. Water it with genuine feeling. Leave it in the dark where things grow. And stand ready, not with anxious anticipation, but with the easy readiness of someone who knows what they have planted and trusts entirely the nature of seeds. What is yours is coming. It has always been coming. It was never as far away as the gap made it seem. It was simply waiting for you to become still enough, trusting enough, free enough from the noise of urgency and doubt to hear it arriving. Stand still, trust deeply, know that it is done. And then let yourself be astonished by how quickly the world moves when you stop asking it to hurry. Good evening. May you rest tonight in the certainty that what you have planted is growing, and may you wake tomorrow as one who simply knows, without needing to be reminded, that it is already on its way. This is Neville Lectures. I'll see you again in the next video.